Hello guys, this is your friend Naruto Audio Fanfics and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto Uzumaki lived multiple different lives across alternate realities, Naruto times Hinata times Sakura times Ino times more, part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. A 14-year-old Naruto Uzumaki blinked as he found himself in a white-looking area, and when I mean white I mean that all there was besides himself was nothing but white light. Blinking several times to try and get the spots out of his eyes he heard a male voice say, "Well, this is a fine mess you got yourself into, Naruto." Naruto turned looking around and saw a man standing there he was sure hadn't been standing there before, and Naruto asked, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" The man said, "People have given me many names over the years. Shinigami, Death, Anubis. Call me that, Anubis. As for what I'm doing here, the question you should have asked is what are you doing here? You see, Naruto, this is Limbo. A place between life and death. You remember Sasuke Uchiha stab a Chidori through your chest when he went to join Orochimaru. Well, he killed you." Naruto eyes widen as he paled, and Anubis said, "Normally this would be where I would take you to the other side, but there are a few problems with your situation." Naruto blinked before he frowned and said, "What problems?" Anubis said, "You were not supposed to die yet. In fact, you and I should not have met for many years to come. If you would have been able to hold on a little bit longer, your sensei Kakashi would have shown up and then he would have taken you back to Konoha where Tsunade would have healed you." Naruto frowned and said, "Then what am I doing here?" Anubis said, "You know your signature jutsu, the Kajbunshin no Jutsu. It's forbidden for several reasons. First, it cost a lot of chakra to make them. Then it divides your chakra evenly each time you make it. That right there would be enough reason to have it listed as forbidden, but because of the fox both of those problems never really became an issue. Now another fact about the Kajbunshin no Jutsu is that whatever it learns when it is dispelled is transferred back to you. The reason it is able to do this is because when you create a Kage-bunshin you are also giving your clone a little bit of your own soul. Every time you created a Kage-bunshin you were weakening your soul, which is why you were unable to last until help could arrive. But this wouldn't be a problem if you had actually read the complete instructions on that jutsu when you first learned it and followed them." Anubis saw Naruto was shocked, and Anubis said, "The part of the directions you missed when you learned that jutsu, besides missing the part about getting the memories back, is that in order to effectively use them you have to process those memories and absorb your piece of soul back in your body. In order to do this you have to arrange your mind. Now I know when you think about your mind you are thinking about that sewer-like place Kyuubi is sealed away, and you're right. It is there, but what you have to realize is that it is your mind. You have the ability to change it by concentrating on what you want your mind to look like. Are you with me so far?" Naruto nods and Anubis said, "Good, because you will be tested on this later. Now in a few minutes I want you to sit down and close your eyes and concentrate on appearing in that sewer place. Are you with me so far?" Naruto said, "Yes, but what does it matter? I'm dead." Anubis said, "It matters because I'm the god of death and I get to decide what to do with you. I don't like to take someone's soul to the other side until it is actually their time to go, unless someone tries to cheat me in order to try and stay alive longer than they were meant to, so I'm going to send you back to the land of the living, but before I do I want to make sure you live until the day you and I should actually meet in many many years." Naruto eyes widen and Anubis held up his hand and said, "Before you get excited, there are a few things you should know. I will be sending you back to life the night you learn the Kajbunshin no Jutsu, but you will not be able to tell anyone about what happens in the future. If you do I will be forced to take your life and I will be very displeased." Naruto gulped and said, "I understand. Don't tell anyone about the future." Anubis nods and saw Naruto was about to open his mouth, and Anubis said, "You're about to ask me if you can change the future, and the answer is yes. You can change the future, but there are things that will still happen. Konoha will be attacked by Suna and Oto. There is nothing you can do to prevent that. You can however work to get stronger and help others get stronger by saying that you heard someone say that Chunin exams were coming to Konoha this year and that it would probably be a good idea to try and make Konoha look the best it could in the exams, especially with so many heirs of Konoha clans being among the genin who might be in the exam. Also, you might say that it would be a good idea to work on making Konoha's security stronger in case someone tries to kidnap someone important or steal some ng valuable with all those guests in Konoha. You understand? Naruto frowned and said, I think so. Anubis said, it's your choice what to say or do, Naruto. I'm just making suggestions, but remember, you can't tell anyone about the future, so you have to be subtle in trying to change the future. You can't tell Kakashi that Tazuna lying about the mission, because if you do, then there is a chance that he won't want to continue the mission when you meet the demon brothers, which means that Tazuna would die and Gato would have complete control of Wave. You wouldn't want that, now would you? Naruto shook his head no, and Anubis said, now another thing you should know is that there is a chance that you won't even get that mission to Wave. Who can say for sure? Naruto frowned and said, is there any way to make sure I definitely get it? Anubis said, life is about choices and chance. You can't be sure of what will happen. Only what you think might happen and what choices you make based on what you think might happen. You see, right now you and I should not be meeting, but we are. There is a chance that after you go back the day I was originally supposed to take, your life will change to either an earlier or later date. It all depends on choice and chance, really. Naruto sighed and Anubis said, now enough about how you might change the future. I only gave you an example so you know that just because you know how things happened once doesn't mean it will happen again. Now, since I am sending you back in time, you should know that I am taking half your soul as payment. Naruto's eyes widened and Anubis held his hand up and said, I am doing this because I am going to be sending someone else back with you. She will be the one in charge of helping make sure you don't screw up too bad. The girl I am sending back with you was just like you in a way. She died before she was supposed to, and I sent her back in time but kept half her soul as payment so that I could use it later to help me if something like this happened again. She will help you like I had someone help her, and then sometime in the future the half of your soul I am taking will help someone else. This is my price. Do you understand? Naruto nods and Anubis said, good. Then when you appear back in time, imagine yourself appearing in your mindscape and you will meet the girl who will begin to help you and explain things to you. Do you understand? Naruto said, yes. Anubis said, good. Then make sure you and I don't see each other again for a long time. As the world around Naruto went dark. When Naruto opened his eyes, he found himself in his apartment in Konoha and blinked a few moments as he looked out at the village and saw the Hokage monument wasn't damaged from the war and thought, so I really am back. I guess I better do what Anubis said. As he sat down and closed his eyes and began to concentrate on appearing in his mind. A few minutes later, Naruto opened his eyes and saw himself in his mindscape when he was suddenly hit on the back of the head hard and he screamed, ow, as he jumped back. Naruto saw a girl about 16 years old with red hair which was up in a single ponytail and green eyes wearing some sort of armor standing there, and the girl said, you shouldn't drop your guard ever. Anubis told you that someone would be here, so you should have prepared in case you were attacked because you had no way of knowing if I would be an ally or an enemy. Naruto opened his mouth and the girl said, stop. You will stand there and be quiet and follow my orders because I refuse to work in these conditions. You will refer to me as Captain Luna or Captain. I am not here to be your friend. I am here to pay off my debt to death by making sure you live until you are supposed to die. Do you understand me? Naruto frowned and said, yes. Luna said, you will answer me with yes, Captain, or no, Captain. Do you understand me? Naruto glared at her a moment before Naruto remembered Anubis' words and said, whatever you say, Captain, with a smirk on his face. Luna opened her mouth before she was hit in the face by the water on the floor, jumping up and hitting her. Sputtering a few moments, Luna glared at Naruto and said, you will pay for that, boy. As she held up her hand and a staff appeared in her hand, shocking Naruto. Luna smirked and said, this may be your mind, but death gave me access to half of everything you have. Half your chakra, half your body, and half your mind. Naruto paled as he heard this, and Luna said, now you have a choice, boy. You can either follow my orders or I will beat the hell out of you until you do. Choose. As she twirled her staff in her hand. Gulping, Naruto said, what are your orders, Captain? Luna said, good. Now, since you have already demonstrated that you realize this place can be controlled by your mind, I want you to imagine instead of a sewer that this was a giant stadium where you can train and fight. Naruto thought a moment, remembering the Chunin exam stadium, and the area changed to look like it. Luna said. You constructed this after a place that you already seen. Haven't you? Naruto said. Yes. Whack. Naruto was hit on the head by Luna, who said, you forgot the captain part. Naruto, who was rubbing his head, glared at Luna, who said, this could be of use to start with, but we will have to make a few changes later. Alright. Now I was watching when you and Anubis talked, so I know you know the Kujbunshin no Jutsu. I heard everything Anubis said about it, but there are other things about it that he didn't tell you. Naruto asked. Like what, Captain? Luna smirked to herself and said, every time you create a Kage Bunshin you split your soul. When you absorb the soul back into your body you gain the memories that soul gained, but this is the part that Anubis didn't tell you. You can also send memories to that soul. Naruto looked confused as he saw Luna looked excited and he said, I don't get it. Luna slapped her head and said, Baka. Look at your body. Your body isn't that of your future self. You are younger and weaker than you were when you died. Anubis didn't send your body back in time. He sent your future memories back in time through the Kage Bunshin you created the first time. You can do the same thing. You can use any Kage Bunshin that you create from today on to send your memories to your past self. Naruto's eyes widened and Luna used her hand to cover his mouth and said, yes, I know that is amazing, but it is only your memories. Anything you gained physically will be erased by doing this. Naruto moved her hand from his mouth and said, so I could go back in time to avoid getting hit by an attack. Luna sighed and said, not the way you are thinking. The Kujbunshin no Jutsu was designed as a scout jutsu. An advance warning. You could use it to warn yourself that there is an enemy ninja coming for you and you could prepare for it, but once you get in the actual fight against him you won't be able to use it to avoid being hit from a single punch or something like that. That is where your own experience will come in. Do you understand? Naruto said. I think so. As he looked confused. Luna sighed and said, I guess you will have to just experience for yourself later to see what I mean. Now I want you to imagine yourself leaving this place and create a Kage Bunshin and have it go into another room and touch something. I don't care what it touches. Just have it touch something. Then have it dispel. Once it dispels, I want you to come back in here to see me. Go. Naruto frowned and closed his eyes and faded away. A few minutes later, Luna was sitting on the ground when Naruto appeared. Luna said, good, you're back. Now since this is your mind, I want you to imagine that when a Kage Bunshin dispel in the real world it appears here. Naruto blinked, but a few moments later there was a puff of smoke and a Kage Bunshin appeared. Luna pointed toward the clone and said, you, come here. The clone came over to Luna and Luna turned to the real Naruto and said, place your hand on his head and you will absorb the memories, chakra, and soul that this Kage Bunshin has. The Kage Bunshin and Naruto went wide-eyed and Luna saw both about to open their mouth and she held up her staff and said, do I need to use this on both of you? Do what I told you. Both Naruto frowned, but the real Naruto did as was told and placed his hand on the head of the Kage Bunshin in front of him and he suddenly saw the entire short life of the Kage Bunshin. Luna said, good. Now what you just did is what you need to do with every Kage Bunshin you create. Come into your mind and absorb its memory, chakra, and soul back into your body. This is how you should have used the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, but now I am going to explain how to send your memories back in time. Now I want you to create a Kage Bunshin right here. Just one, but make it look different than your other Kage Bunshin. Naruto thought a moment and put his hands together and said, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. A puff of smoke appeared and when the smoke cleared, Luna blinked and said, I'm not even going to ask why you created a female Kage Bunshin. I guess that will work. You won't mix her up with your regular Kage Bunshin. Luna closed her eyes and took a deep breath and said, since we are inside of your mind, you will notice that unlike a regular Kage Bunshin, this one doesn't move or do anything. It's because you can't take something from nothing. We are in your mind, so it is impossible to create another mind inside you own one. Well, not impossible, but it could cause all kinds of problems with multiple personalities, so I won't go into that. What I will tell you is that if you need to send your memories back in time, you will have to create a Kage Bunshin in the real world, and instead of absorbing its memories, you will have it place your female clone's hand on its head and absorb its memories. It will know everything you knew up to the moment it was created, as well as anything it learned after it was destroyed. When it gives its memories to your female clone here, it will take those memories back in time until the moment you created her, at which time she will come to you and ask you to absorb her memories. When she does, you will gain her future knowledge. Do you understand? Naruto nods, and a puff of smoke appeared beside the female clone of Naruto, and a male clone of Luna appeared, and Luna said, I have done the same thing so that I will know everything you know in order to help you to get stronger so that you will not die until it is time for you to. Now let's leave this place. As she faded from view, Naruto saw her fade and thought, how can she leave this place? As he also faded. When Naruto opened his eyes, he found himself back in his apartment and he heard Luna's voice say, damn it. How in the hell am I supposed to live in this mess? Naruto's eyes widened and he moved to the other room where Luna stood, and she pointed her finger at Naruto and said, you. I will not be living in a pigsty. You will create a couple of Kage Bunshin to begin cleaning this place under the orders of one of my Kage Bunshin, while you and I will head out to find a training ground to begin training. Naruto looked at the clock on the wall and said, but it's 2:21 a.m. in the morning. Luna said, so what? If you're able to stand there and talk, then you are able to train. Now create a couple of Kage Bunshin to leave here and then show me where you normally train at. Luna saw him begin to open his mouth when a puff of smoke appeared in front of her hand and her staff appeared, and she said, do I need to use this to educate you? As she looked ready to hit him with it. Naruto gulped and said, no, Captain. As he created several Kage Bunshin and Luna created one, and both left the apartment to be cleaned by the clones. 20 minutes later, Naruto and Luna were on training ground 7, and Luna looked around and said, all right, tell me what chakra control exercises you know. Naruto said, well, I know the tree climbing and water walking. Luna looked at Naruto and raised an eyebrow before she frowned and said, I hate you, Anubis. As she walked over toward a tree and walked up it before she got several leaves of a leaf off of a limb, and she walked back down the tree. Naruto watched as Luna had a leaf begin to float on top of her head, on top of both her hands, and on top of both her feet. Luna said, you can do the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, so that means you have big chakra reserves. I notice when you created them that you have very little chakra control. Chakra control is one of the most important things a person has to have if they wish to survive in battle, because the better your control is, the longer you can make your chakra last, and usually battles are won or lost because someone got tired and made a mistake because of being tired. Now, as you can see, I am floating leaves on 5 different areas of my body at the same time. This exercise is just like tree climbing and water walking, where too much chakra and the leaves blow off and not enough they fall down. I want you to create as many Kage Bunshin as you can and have them divide up into 5 even teams. One team will work on the head, while another on the left hand, another on the right hand, the left foot, and finally the right foot. Well, what are you waiting for? Make your clones. Naruto jumped slightly at the commanding tone at the end and created 40 Kage Bunshin. Luna took a deep breath and said, I told you to make as many as you could, but I guess this will be good enough for now. Now divide like I said and get started. Work for 1 hour and then dispel one from each group every minute after that. The real you, Naruto, are to come sit with me. As she turned and walked toward a tree and sat down. Naruto walked over and sat down beside Luna, who said, all right, let's enter your mind again. As she disappeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto blinked and entered his mind and saw Luna standing there and asked, how were you out there? Luna said, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Now when your clones appear, you are to absorb them and their knowledge and then go back out in the real world and make as many as you can, and have then start doing the leaf floating exercise again just like they were before coming back in here, and continue to do what I am about to have you do. Have the clones dispel after an hour of work like this first group is. That way you will get about a week's worth of training done in a single day, since you are currently resting to recover your lost chakra while your clones train, so when you create more they will be rested and have the knowledge of all those who trained before you. Get it? Naruto eyes widened and said, yeah. I think I get it. That's so cool. In an excited tone. Luna sighed and said, shut up and listen. I swear I'm going to kill you myself at this rate. Now you know the 12 primary hand signs, right? Naruto said. Yes. Luna said. Good. Now the chakra inside your body follows a path and flows through that path like a river. When you make hand signs, you are trying to control the flow of the river in order to make it go where you want it to go. Now I want you to imagine a giant glass statue of you to appear in the middle of the arena. Naruto thought a moment before a glass statue of him about 30 feet tall appeared. Luna looks at it and said, "Good. Now I want you to place your hand on it and send chakra into it." Naruto looked from the statue to her and asked, "Why?" Luna said, "What you are going to do is send your chakra into the statue. The statue is a perfect copy of you, so it will have a map of your chakra network. By sending chakra through the network, you will be able to see where the river of chakra actually goes. This will not only help you learn to better control your chakra later, but also help you keep track of the actual amount of chakra in your body. Now, like the other chakra control exercises, if you send too much chakra into that glass statue where it doesn't follow the river's path, the statue will break and you will have to start all over again. Once you have learned your entire chakra network, you will have to make another glass statue, but this time holding one of the 12 primary hand signs and map that river. You will have to do it for all 12 primary signs, but looks like it's been an hour. Your clones are starting to appear." Several hours later, Naruto was standing in a huge pile of broke glass and Luna had an amused smile on her face and said, 263 statues and you haven't even gotten half of a leg, much less the rest of your body. Naruto glared at her and Luna said, "Well, it's morning. You need to go take a bath, you stink." Naruto glared at her even more before he faded away and Luna laughed to herself. A 13-year-old Naruto Uzumaki sat on top of the Hokage monument in the village of Konoha with a depressed look on his face. Earlier today he had attempted to pass the exam that would allow him to become a genin early for the second time and failed. A female voice from behind Naruto said, "Hello." Naruto blinked and turned around and saw a girl who looked to be around his age, if not just a little older, standing there, and the girl said, "I'm Rose. You're Naruto Uzumaki, right?" Naruto said, "Yes." Rose smiled and said, "Good, I was looking for you." Naruto bit his lip as his eyes looked around just a moment and asked, "Why were you looking for me?" Rose motioned toward the ground and asked, "Do you mind if I sit down with you? Like I said earlier, I've been looking for you and my feet are a little tired from walking around looking for you." Naruto shrugged his shoulders and said, "I guess it's alright, but why were you looking for me?" Rose walked over and sat down beside Naruto and said, "I was looking for you because I have a business proposition for you." Naruto looked confused and Rose said, "Before the hidden villages were founded, people would usually trade services with other people, like for example a farmer who grew wheat would trade some of his wheat with a baker who would grind and bake the wheat into bread and give some of the bread back to the farmer as part of the deal. Trading one service for another. You with me so far?" Naruto said, "I think so, but what do you want from me?" Rose smiled slightly and said, "I am originally from the hidden village of Suna in Wind Country. I was sent to Konoha as part of the peace treaty between Konoha and Suna, and I was placed in an arranged marriage with a Konoha ninja. However, as part of the security for the arrangement, I was forced to give up being a ninja since I'm not allowed to leave the village. My husband was one of the Uchiha who were killed in the Uchiha massacre. I was spared that night because I was in the hospital with the flu, but because of me not being originally from Konoha and the fact I was spared when every other Uchiha but Sasuke was killed by Itachi, there has been a lot of suspicion about me being involved or knew about it somehow, so people don't trust me." Naruto bit his lip and asked, "Did you know about it or were you involved?" Rose said, "No. But you know already how people of Konoha are toward those they don't trust or are suspicious of. Do you know why they actually treat you the way they do?" Naruto frowned and said, "No. Do you know?" Rose sighed and said, "Yes, but if I tell you I could be killed for it. I'll tell you if you agree to my business deal, but you can't tell anyone that I was the one who told you, or like I said, I'll be killed for it." Naruto asked, "What is it you want from me?" Rose looked at Naruto and said, "I know you have failed to pass the graduation exam twice already, and I know why you can't seem to perform the jutsu you are failing. I'm willing to teach you what I know about being a ninja, as well as tell you why you're treated like you are if you want me to, but in exchange," as she trailed off. Naruto said, "In exchange what? What is it you want?" Rose closed her eyes and said, "Because of what I already explained to you about my history, I am very lonely. What I want from you is to help me not be so lonely." Naruto said, "You mean you want me to become your friend?" Rose smiled slightly and said, If we became friends, then I wouldn't mind, but that isn't exactly what I want from you, you see. I'm a woman and you're a guy. Even if you are a little young, what I want from you is to help me feel like a woman again by helping me become a mother. Naruto eyes widen and said, What do you mean? Rose said, Basically, the deal is for skills. You agree to have with me and I'll teach you what I know about being a ninja. Naruto gulped as he looked at Rose and said, I don't know what to say. Rose looked down and said, Naruto, you know what it feels like to be alone. You can understand some of what I feel. A 5-year-old Naruto Uzumaki was sitting on the ground at night with his knees against his chest trying to sleep when the moonlight shined through the trees on the clearing he was at and a woman appeared. The woman was around 5 feet 10 with red hair and silver eyes. She walked slowly and silently toward Naruto and said, Hello. Gently. Naruto, who had almost fallen asleep, looked up startled by the voice and his eyes widened when he saw the woman, and the woman smiled at him and said, Hello Naruto. Naruto looked at her and said quietly, Hello, who are you and how do you know my name? The woman said, My name is Artemis and I know your name because you're very special. Naruto looked at her confused and Artemis smiled and said, Do you mind if I sit down with you? Naruto said, I don't mind. Artemis sat down in front of Naruto and she said, Why are you out here at night? Shouldn't you be inside? Naruto looked down and said, I don't have any place to go. I'm an orphan. Artemis' eyes softened and got a sad look in them a moment before she said, Can I tell you a story, Naruto? Naruto blinked and looked at Artemis and she smiled and said, The story is about me actually. You see, I'm a goddess. The goddess of the moon, hunt, childbirth, and maidens. Naruto's eyes got wide and said, Really? Silver light began to flow around Artemis, shocking Naruto, and Artemis smiled gently at him and said, Yes, Naruto, I really am a goddess, and I am here to tell you a story. Would you like to hear my story? Naruto was a little scared but nods his head, and Artemis said, My story begins many years ago. One of my half-sisters, Aphrodite is her name. She had many children and one of her children was a son named Bill. Bill was accused of committing a terrible crime that hurt a young maiden. Back then I wasn't the nicest goddess when it comes to men because I have seen women hurt far too many times by men over the years, and when Bill was accused of the crime he was accused of, I believed he was guilty simply because he was a man. I killed him. Turns out I was wrong and he was innocent. Naruto's eyes widened as he heard this and Artemis looked down as she said that. Artemis took a deep breath and said, Back then I had been a maiden goddess and never had any children myself. Aphrodite was angry at me for killing her son and she said that I was a heartless bitch who so stuck up in my righteous attitude to care about the innocent lives that I was hurting because of my hatred for men. She asked the council of the gods to punish me. Naruto asked, What was your punishment? Artemis looked at him and said, It was the kindest and most painful punishment ever. You see, there was a mortal family who was about to give birth to a child, but the child was not actually going to be born. I had my memories sealed away and placed into the unborn female child, and my family healed the child so that it wouldn't die when it was born. I then lived as a mortal girl growing up, falling in love, getting married, and then I had a child. A son. Naruto said. Really? Artemis laughed gently and said, Yes, really, but there is more to my story. You see, there are laws that were created to protect the children of the gods. One of those laws is a god is not allowed to raise their demigod children themselves. Demigod is the name of a child from a god and a mortal. A demigod is supposed to be raised by their mortal parent. Naruto frowned and said, But why? Artemis sighed and said, There are several reasons. The biggest one is gods are not allowed to fight each other directly because it always leads to war, death, and destruction. In the past the other gods did raise their children but had many and trained them to help them fight other gods. It was a dark time in the history of the world. That's the reason gods are not allowed to raise their demigod children themselves. So that their children are not directly used to fight wars against other gods and create war, death, and destruction. Naruto pursed his lips and said, That's not fair. Artemis said, I know, it's one of the reasons I said I would remain a maiden. I didn't want to bring a child into this world full of pain and suffering, but I am truly grateful to have a son that I love with every ounce of my being, a son I am looking at right now. Naruto blinked and looked at Artemis, who was looking at him, and he looked confused a moment before he began to move his head around looking to see if there was anyone else before he looked at Artemis and pointed his finger at himself and said, "Me," in an unsure but hopeful voice. Artemis nods her head, and the next moment she was tackled into a hug by Naruto, who screamed, "Mom," as he squeezed her and buried his face into her chest as he kept his eyes closed, afraid this was all a dream. Artemis wrapped her arms around Naruto and closed her eyes as tears fell down her eyes as well. After several minutes of holding each other, Artemis said, "There's still much I need to tell you, son. Do you think you can listen to what I need to tell you?" Naruto asked. "Do I have to let you go?" Artemis said. "No, you can hold on to me all night," as she held on to him a little bit tighter. Naruto relaxed into her arms, and Artemis said, "The night you were born, your father and I both died, or at least my mortal body died. It took me nearly 2 years to recover from that, and I wanted to return for you before that, but then the fates came to me and told me something." Naruto looked confused and said, "The fates? Who's that? And what did they tell you?" Artemis closed her eyes and said, "The fates are 3 ancient women who were chosen by Lord Chaos himself. They are Clotho, the spinner, who decides if a person is to be born. Then there is Lachesis, the measurer, who decides how long a person will live, and then there is Atropos, she who cannot be turned. It is she who decides when someone dies. Even the gods are bound by the power of the fates. When they came to me, I was getting ready to come and get you and bring you to where the god's seat of power is." Running her hand through Naruto's hair, she said, "They told me that I had to choose a path, one of 3 choices. The first choice was to come and get you as I had planned, but then I would watch you die in a war that is coming in the near future that will decide the immediate fate of the gods. The second choice was to come here and raise you, but then when the war came, they warned me about the enemy that we would have faced would have come here and killed you and then me before the war started in order to weaken the other gods, and they would lose the war and they would all die." Naruto frowned and said, "Since you're here, does that mean we are going to die?" Artemis said, "The first and second choice they gave me were choices I couldn't accept. I couldn't accept that if I accepted either of those choices that you would die. I could handle myself or the other gods dying, but not you, son. I would gladly die if it meant you lived, so when they gave me the final choice, I reluctantly accepted it." Naruto looked up and asked, "What was the choice, Mom?" Artemis looked at him and smiled kindly and said, "The fates told me that there was dark times coming in the future, both here and where I come from. They said that unless this darkness was stopped, that it would spread to consume the entire world. They told me that they could not directly do anything to stop this darkness, but that if I would be willing to allow you to become their champion, then they could use you to fight this darkness. They told me that if I would do this, then they would remove your string of fate from the tapestry of fate. That they would not decide how long you live or when you would die. That it would be completely your choice by your own actions," and I agreed. Naruto looked confused and said, "What does that mean, Mom?" Artemis reached into her pocket and pulled out a black necklace and said, "This is your choice, son. The fates gave me this necklace. If you place it on your neck, then you agree to become the fates champion. I do not know what that will mean, but the fates told me that this is your choice. If you agree, then I will be allowed to take you from here and bring you to my homeland for a few months. We will be allowed one day after we leave here to be together, and then one day when we leave there to come back to be together, free from the ancient laws. Other than that, we will have to follow the ancient laws. They said that they would give you quests to finish, and that sometimes if you complete enough quests successfully and impress them, that they would give us a free bonus day together. I know it doesn't sound like much, but it's better than most gods get to be with their children." Naruto frowned and said, "What happens if I refuse to become their champion?" Artemis sighed and said, "Then it will depend on if I decide to stay here or take you with me. Either choice 1 or choice 2. If I take you with me, then I would be bound by the ancient laws and could watch you, but only actually be with you if we're lucky, and you would die. But if I stay, then I become an enemy to the other gods, and we will have not only the enemy the fates told me about, but also the other gods, and the fates themselves would be against us, and you would still die. It's not much choice, but it's all they would give us. You have to decide, son." Naruto frowned as he looked at the necklace and said, "I don't care as long as I get to be with you, Mom," as he took the necklace and put it around his neck. The moment the necklace touched his skin, Naruto winced as he felt like his skin was on fire for just a moment, and he reached up to take the necklace off when he felt the necklace wasn't there. Artemis grabbed his hands and said, It's alright, son. The fates marked you. If I had a mirror, I could show you what I mean, but you have a tattoo shaped like the necklace around your neck. Now come on. We only have a day to be together, and I want to spend it together, but not here. I want to show you where I live. As she grabbed Naruto tightly and covered his eyes, the next moment both disappeared in a beam of silver light. When Naruto could see again, he found himself in a building with white stone columns and silver. The furniture seemed made of different animal skins, and there were different plants that made the place feel like it was part of the forest. Naruto took a deep breath and immediately began to relax and feel himself becoming content. Artemis saw this and smiled gently and said, "This is my temple, my home. You will always be welcomed here, my son." As bent down and gently kissed the top of his head. A cough caused Artemis to tense before she turned her head. Naruto, hearing the cough and feeling his mother tense, turned his head to look at her and saw her turn her head and look the direction Artemis was looking. Naruto saw 3 females standing there. One looked like a little girl just a little older than him. One looked like a woman a little older than his mother, and the last looked like an elderly woman. Artemis frowned and said, "Why are you here? I thought you said that I would have an entire day with him." The eldest looking woman said, "You do, but first we need to meet your son and introduce ourselves, as well as show you both something to help you understand what you have both agreed to. Do not worry. The time you have together has not actually started yet, so all the time you had so far has been a free bonus." The middle-aged woman said, "Naruto Uzumaki, son of Artemis, we are the fates you were told about. I am Lachesis, this is Clotho, and this is Anthropos." Clotho said, "We are the fates. It is these forms you will always see us in, even when others see us in other forms." Anthropos said, "You have agreed to be our champion. With this choice you will receive power. A power that will help you understand the power of fate, but will also give you the ability to control destiny." Lachesis held up her hand and 5 books appeared in her hand and said, "Take these books, Naruto, so we may begin to explain things to you and your mother so that we can leave and you both can begin to enjoy your time together." Naruto looked up at his mother and Artemis said, "It's all right, Naruto." Naruto moved over to Lachesis and took the books, and as soon as he did, he blinked and stepped back as he saw 2 glowing objects appear in front of him with symbols he didn't recognize. Anthropos said, "You have just activated the power we have given you. Since you are so young and do not know how to read, I will explain what you see that only you and us can see. Your mother can't see it what you see. Nobody but us can. The words that appeared are telling you what the books are and asking if you wish to accept them. This box here is asking yes, and this box is asking no. Press your hand on the word yes." Naruto reached up and touched the word yes, and when he did, the books in his hands disappeared in a puff of smoke, startling Naruto, and he blinked and read the words. "You have accepted the book Basic English for Children. You have accepted the book Basic Greek for Children. You have accepted the book Basic Latin for Children. You have accepted the book Basic Kanji for Children. You have accepted the basic book Kana for Children." Naruto said, "I have accepted the basic books of English, Greek, Latin, Kanji, and Kana. What does that mean?" Clotho said, "This part might be confusing to you, but your mother should be able to understand this sum. Basically, you have been given a gift similar to that of an RPG video game. This was arranged in a way to help you understand the missions that we need you to do as our champion, as well as help you get stronger than you could normally. A few moments ago you did not know how to read or understand what you read. You now have basic understanding of 5 languages. All 5 languages that your mother has experience with." Anthropos said, "This does not mean that you can just pick up any book and be able to automatically understand it. Artemis, please come here and hold my hand so you will be able to see what your son is seeing." Artemis walked over and took Anthropos' hand, and Lachesis said, "Look here in the bottom left corner of your vision, Naruto. You see the word menu." Naruto nods his head and Lachesis said, "Touch it." Naruto reached out and touched the word, and a huge screen appeared with a picture of Naruto and his name under the picture, and then under his name was Naruto Uzumaki. Level 1. Express 0-10. HP 510. CP 100. Strength. Speed. Stamina. Attack. Defense. Dex. Int. Skill. Reading. Equipment. Items. Clotho said, "This is your basic stats, Naruto. You are currently level 1 because you do not have any actual experience for what you will need in the future. HP is your health points. If you hit 0, you will pass out. If you drop to 0, you die. You are currently at 5 out of 10 HP. The reason your HP is so low is because of your age as well as current health because of the condition you have had to live with so far. Physical activities as well as proper food and health care will increase your HP as well leveling up by life experience. Lachesis said. Next is UCP or chakra points. You will learn more about chakra in the future either from your mother or from other sources. Anthropos said. Next is your strength. This is how much power you have. Since you have not done anything physical to test your physical strength since you accepted our offer, this stat is currently unknown. Clothos said. Speed is how fast you are at physical activities. Speed can be used directly to help you do something quicker but will cost you to use your stamina. Speed gives you a bonus in attack or defense. As you can see, speed and the next few items are blank until you are able to do something to activate them so they can be tested. Lachesis said. Stamina is how long you are able to do physical activities. The more stamina you have, the better off you will be in the long run. Anthropos said. Attack is how strong your physical attacks are. An example of this is if you punched something, attack would tell how much damage you were able to do. Attack is a combination of strength, speed, and stamina. If you are at full stamina, then you will get a +1 attack bonus. If you are at half stamina, then you get no bonus. If you are tired and attack, your stamina will actually count as a penalty and will give you a -1 attack bonus, which means it will do less damage. Using speed to help you attack will decrease your stamina quicker over time. Clothos said. Defense is next. Defense is made up of any defense points your cloth's armor provides you plus your dex and speed. You should know though that you're the weight of any item you are physically carrying, meaning cloths, armor, weapons, scrolls, etc. Anything you are carrying will slow your speed down. Lachesis said. Basically, if you have a speed of 20 but are carrying items that have a penalty of 22, then your speed will decrease your overall strength by 2 and will reduce your stamina by 2. However, if you have a speed of 20 and are only carrying a penalty of 18, then you will have a speed bonus of 2 that you can add to your strength at the cost of 2 to your stamina. You will understand this better with time and experience. Anthropos said. Next is dex or dexterity. Basically, it means how acrobatic you are. For every 5 points of dex you get, you lose 1 on strength. For every 5 you get on strength, you lose 1 on dex. Clotho smirked and said. And then we have intelligence. This is the best ability of all. It is a combination of your skills. For every 10 levels you have in skills, you gain 1 point in intelligence. Below the word skills, you only have 1 skill so far. Reading. Click reading Naruto. Naruto clicked it and the screen changed and the words. English level. 1 to 1. Greek level. 1 to 1. Latin level. 1 to 1. Kanji level. 1 to 1. Kana level. 1 to 1. Lachesis said. You are at level 1 to 1. You have the basic reading level of a kindergarten child in each of the 5 languages you have unlocked. In order to advance these skills, you will need to read and gain experience in each of these languages. The more you read, the more experience you will gain. Once you have reached. When you gain enough experience, you will go from 1 to 1 to 1 to 2, then 1 to 3, 1 to 4. When you reach the next level after that, you will be at 2 to 1. This will mean you have 2 skill points in that language. There are a total of 10 levels to each language, but there are many languages in the world. Some that your mother knows that are now dead languages. You never know when those languages might come in handy. Of course, you can't just start reading a level 10 book and be able to understand it. You have to start off with a beginner book in those languages. Anthropos said. Demigods like you are cursed with ADHD because of your battle instincts you are gifted with. This affects all demigods. If a demigod was to train themselves to understand books level by level like you have, they could eliminate the effect of their ADHD. It means that your mind easily wonders if you don't understand something. If you find something that is to advance for you to understand, then the letters will be scrambled because of your ADHD. Artemis blinked and said, Really? I didn't know that. Clotho said. Only Athena knows this, but she stays silent to make it a challenge for her children to overcome so that she could tell the truly gifted from the regular children she had. Artemis frowned as she heard this. Naruto asked, Who is Athena? With a confused look on his face. Artemis looked at her son and said, My half-sister. She is also a goddess. Naruto looked confused slightly but said, "Oh." Anthropos said, "This system is set up for all your skills, Naruto. If you find a scroll or someone that will teach the basic taijutsu of a style and accept it like you did the books we gave you, then you will unlock that basic taijutsu, but you will only be at level 1 unless you physically practice it to gain experience with that style. Once you get to level 10 experience, you can then unlock intermediate taijutsu in that style if you find a scroll or someone to teach it to you. Sometimes you can only unlock basic of something, and sometimes you will find something that is to advance for you to learn because you don't have the basic requirement to use it. If that is the case, then you won't be able to unlock it." Clotho said. "Now it is time to look at equipment. Select the black arrow at the top of the screen so we can leave this menu and go back to the main menu and then select equipment." Naruto did as he was told, and when he did, it showed a picture of Naruto body and with an arrow pointing to his head, chest, arms, hands, legs, and feet with several boxes connected to each arrow. Lachesis said, "These 6 arrow point to the 6 major body sections. As you can see, there are several boxes connected with each arrow. Some of the boxes have items in them. Those items are the cloths Naruto is currently wearing. We know you plan to get him new cloths, and those will be destroyed since they are rags that don't fit him, which is why they don't have any value connected to them. When you get him new cloths, the cloths will offer some defense to him, but remember the penalty warning we gave earlier. If the cloths are too bulky or heavy for him to properly wear, then they will damage his other stats. He will have to learn to balance out his equipment with his stats to get the best combo of both that will help his defense and attack. You should understand this already, Artemis, from your time as Kushina." Artemis nods and said, "Will he be able to wear enchanted cloths?" Lachesis said, "Just like how we told you that if he finds instructions on a higher skill without the basic he wouldn't be able to use it, the same will apply to his equipment, which includes any weapons he will carry. If you give him a sword and he does not have the basic skills to use a sword, he won't be able to use the sword." Artemis said, "I see." Naruto looked confused and asked, "See what, Mom?" Artemis said, "I'll show you when we are alone, son. Let's listen to the fates so they can do what they need to and we can have our time together." Naruto nods his head and Anthropos said, "Remember our agreement, Artemis. You can only be with your son the day you bring him from his homeland here and on the day you take him back, unless we give him a reward for completing a challenge we have set up for him." Artemis said, "I know." Clotho said, "We cannot force you to do this, but we can give you some advice. It is your choice if you wish to accept this advice." Lachesis said, "When Naruto appears at camp, can claim him as your son. But doing so will draw attention from not only your allies but also your enemies. Your brother will be excited and will try to help influence your son, but Aphrodite might try to make his life harder because she might still want revenge on you for her child you killed. Then there is also the enemies we can't tell you about. And you won't be able to help him if those who wish to harm him were to follow him back to his homeland." Artemis frowned and said, "What are you saying?" With narrowed eyes. Anthropos said, "You will not be able to stay at camp with him because of your duties and the ancient laws. You have not told your hunters about your son or anyone else. Unless they are at camp, your cabin will be empty besides your son, and even then there will be conflict. He will be alone and possibly subjected to abuse from the children of gods who would like to hurt you. Just like he was before we allowed you to return to him. If you officially claim him, that is what you will bring upon him, but your brother Hermes allows all unclaimed to stay in his cabin. You can keep the fact you are Naruto mother a secret, since you were known as Kushina, and when we helped with your punishment we never told anyone who you were, where you were, or what happened to you. Naruto knows who you are and knows that you would claim him in an instant if you could, but wouldn't if it meant he would be happy with friends, healthy, and safe." Clotho said, "We suggest that you don't officially claim him until he is strong enough to protect himself from the dangers that come with being your son. You can officially bless him with your power, making him your champion, since he will be your only child. Should anyone ask why you blessed him, you can say tell them to speak with us about it. We will be more than happy to remind them why we are not to be questioned." All 3 sisters smiled evilly at this, causing both Naruto and Artemis to take a step backwards. Lachesis said, "This has an added bonus. When you are given permission to be with Naruto, you can take the form of Kushina, which hides your godly presence and will help confuse others who try to figure out who Naruto is the son of, as well as make it where if something happens in Konoha that requires you to show up, you can use the fact Kushina was the heiress of the Uzumaki clan to your advantage. I'm sure your time as Kushina can help you realize ways to use that to help your son with his life there. Especially since they think you're dead like the rest of the clan when Whirlpool was destroyed. Funny how people always underestimate the Uzumakis. Huh. With a smirk. Artemis' eyes widen at this and said, "You sneaky bitches. You planned this all along. Didn't you?" Anthropos walked forward and placed a hand on Naruto's shoulders, and Naruto's eyes became heavy before he fell to the ground, shocking Artemis, who screamed Naruto's name and moved to his side quickly. Anthropos said, "He only sleeps, Artemis. This is not for his ears yet." Artemis frowned and looked at the fates and said, "What isn't for his ears?" Clotho said, "Your husband Minato was more than you believe he was. This power that we gave him, it wasn't given to him. It was simply unlocked by us. It has always been there. Locked in him, locked in his father, locked in his grandfather and his grandfather and his grandfather, all the way back to the Sixth Realm Sage. Or you might know him better as Lord Chaos." Artemis' eyes widened as she heard this and looked shocked and said, "Minato and Naruto are descendants of Lord Chaos." Lachesis said, "Just like the gods have Greek and Roman aspects, Lord Chaos also has two aspects. Chaos and order. The Senju are descendants of chaos, the Uchiha are descendants of order. The Uzumaki are descendants of both chaos and order. That is why when Kushina died and you returned to your godly form, you got the bonus of the Uzumaki bloodline as well as the perks you had, being the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, which was created by chaos and order in order to protect his children and their descendants from his creation Gaia and those who came from her. That is why the Biju are as powerful as a primordial." Anthropos said, "We did not plan for things to play out like this. The gods were never meant to learn about the elemental nations. The danger that comes, we saw the gods most likely falling to this threat and it would have spread to the elemental nations. You were meant to be a last resort. If the gods fell to the coming threat, then when the threat came to the elemental nation, your memories and godly powers would have been unlocked, and with the power of the Kyuubi and your skills you gained being Kushina and being an Uzumaki, you would have been able to defeat this coming threat, but it would have most likely cost you your life, and if you didn't die then you would have died of old age. We have no control over the descendants of chaos and order, which is why we couldn't prevent what happened that night from happening. When Minato fell in love with you, it was his own choosing, just like it was your choice to marry him and have his child. The events that happened that night was caused by the actions of the descendants of chaos and order." Clotho said, "Creating the summoning contract between Thantos and mortals in the elemental nation was done by a descendant of Lord Chaos, so we couldn't control that but had to make Thantos swear an oath never to reveal anything he learns there. When your husband summoned Thantos to seal Kyuubi into your son, we had no control over that, and he did not recognize you because you were Kushina. Because of both the threat here and the one created by the descendants of Lord Chaos and Order, we have no choice but to ask for the assistance of the only person who has not only the power but the ability to possibly stop both threats from destroying both the elemental nations and the lands here." Artemis frowned and said, "You're using my son." Lachesis said, "No. We are trying to protect him. You don't know what is coming, what he will have to face, even if we would never have done anything." Artemis looked at her sleeping son and said, "Will he be okay?" Anthropos said, "His fate is his own to decide. You can help guide him, but in the end the choice has and always will be his." Artemis closed her eyes and said, "What must I do?" Clotho walked over and placed her hand on Artemis' shoulder and said, "Do you really want to know?" Artemis looked at the three sisters and said, "I'll do anything to protect my son and make him happy." As the three sisters began to smile, Artemis thought, "Why do I feel like I am going to regret this?" When Naruto opened his eyes, he found himself sitting on a couch and heard the sound of something hitting wood, and turned toward the sound and saw his mother banging her head against the table she was sitting at. Naruto blinked and blinked again before he looked around the room and then back at his mother and said, "Are you all right, Mom?" Artemis, who was about to hit her head against the table, turned and saw Naruto awake, and she said, "What, son?" Naruto asked, "Are you all right, Mom?" Artemis said, "Yes, son. It's nothing. Just something I need to work on later." "How are you feeling, son?" Naruto looked confused a moment and said, Okay, I guess. Just then his stomach growled and Artemis said, sounds like you're hungry. Come on. Our day together has began and we got so much to do in so little time. Let's go grab a bite to eat and then get you some new cloths and I have so much to talk to you about. Naruto got up and walked over to Artemis whose features began to change. She still had red hair but now her eyes were green and she looked at Naruto and said, when I was mortal this is what I looked like. Son. I thought about what the fates said before you fell asleep last night and, as much as I want to claim you right now I think they are right and I should wait until you are strong enough to protect yourself. The world is very dangerous and there are many who would like nothing more than to hurt me and those I care about, but I will leave the choice to you. Do you want me to officially claim you now or do you want me to wait until you can protect yourself? Naruto bit his lip and said, what's the difference? Would I still be your son? Artemis said, you will always be my son. But, well, let's think of it as a game. A prank, really. Your father and I both loved pranks when we were children. Naruto eyes widened and said, really? Wait, who's my dad? Artemis bent down and said, your father was a very special man. You look almost exactly like him. I could tell you now but I think I want to encourage you to earn it. Right now you are 5 years old. If you can get to level 10 between now and the time you start the Ninja Academy I will tell you who your father was. That means you have 2 years to reach level 10. Do you think you can work hard enough in 2 years to reach level 10? Naruto said, yes I can, believe it. Artemis slapped her forehead and said, and there is Uzumaki blood in you, causing Naruto to look confused. Artemis sighed and said, anyways son, you will always be my son but do you have heard what the fates and I have thought? What do you think son? Do you want to prank everyone and keep the fact you're my son a secret for now? Naruto frowned and said, who do I tell everyone my parents are? Am I still going to be an orphan? Artemis said, no son. When I am looking like this I will be going by the name Kushina Uzumaki, the name I had when I was mortal. If I am in this form you can call me mom until I claim you officially. You will learn what claiming is later. You can tell everyone that you are the son of Kushina Uzumaki. You can tell them you are the heir of the Uzumaki clan of Whirlpool. Naruto looked confused and asked, Whirlpool? Kushina said, it's where the Uzumaki family came from before the village was destroyed. We are one of the last Uzumaki left in the world but you are the heir, as much as I hate to say it, and I really am going to hate saying this, but you will have to restore the Uzumaki clan, which means you will have to have several wives, and have lots of kids. Naruto looked confused and said, if I have lots of kids will they also be your kids' mom? Kushina said, no son, they would be my grandkids. Grandkids. Oh my son is so manly. He's going to give me grandbabies. As she scooped Naruto up in her arms and began to spin him around screaming about grandbabies. 20 minutes later, a very scared and mentally scarred 5-year-old Naruto was holding the hand of his mother as they left the Temple of Artemis to go get something to eat. After Kushina and Naruto had breakfast at a small diner near Central Park, they began to walk down the streets and Naruto was looking around in awe at all the sights of vehicles and buildings as well as the number of people. Kushina smiled as she held Naruto's hand and saw the look of wonder on his face. She said, it's amazing, isn't it? All these people living here. There are more people in this one city than all of the elemental nations put together. Naruto looked at his mom and said, how is that possible? Kushina looked at Naruto and said, it's possible because the people of the world have come to believe that it is their responsibility to create a better future for the next generation than the one they had. That is the hope and dream of nearly every parent, that their children will have a better life than they have. People have done everything they can to achieve that goal. Sometimes it was something easy, but sometimes it was very painful. Come on son, let's go into this store. As she guided them into a building. Kushina smiled at the excited and amazed look Naruto had as they got on the moving stairs. When they got to the 3rd floor Kushina led Naruto to a section where children cloths were. Kushina began to pick up different cloths and held them in front of Naruto before she would either shake her head or put it over her arm. 3 hours later Naruto's excitement died down as he left the store with his mom who had several bags in her arms. After getting into a cab, Kushina was able to make most of the bags disappear with her godly powers, shocking Naruto, but he got an amazed look on his face as his mom whispered, keeping what he saw a secret. After visiting another clothing store and getting some children toys while they were there, Kushina and Naruto had lunch together before they went into a bookstore, and Kushina began to grab several books while she told Naruto to look at the children fiction section, though she kept a very close eye on him. Naruto found 5 books that he thought he would like to read. After checking out the 5 books Naruto picked out along with another 30 that Kushina picked out, they went to Central Park and Kushina let Naruto go out on the playground and have fun with some of the other kids while she sat on a park bench. A woman with brown hair walked over and said, "Do you mind if I sit down with you?" Kushina looked at the woman and said, "No, I don't mind," as she moved over a little. The woman sat down next to Kushina and said, "Thanks, my feet are killing me. I swear my son is an endless source of energy." Kushina said, "Really? Sounds like he's a handful. I'm Kushina, by the way. Kushina Uzumaki." The woman smiled and said, "Sally Jackson. It's a pleasure to meet you. Do you mind if I ask you something?" Kushina said, "No, I don't mind," as she looked at Sally but kept an eye on Naruto, who was now playing with a black hair boy about his age. Sally took a deep breath and said, "Is it really safe?" Kushina blinked and said, "As what really safe?" as she looked more closely at Sally. Sally looked over at the children and said, "My son Perseus, his father said he wouldn't be safe with me. He asked me to send him there, to that camp." Kushina's eyes widened as she this said, "What do you mean?" Sally looked at Kushina and said, "When I look at you, I see the same thing I saw when I saw Percy's father. You're a goddess, aren't you?" Kushina's eyes widened again slightly and said, "You're clear-sighted." Sally nods her head and said, "Yeah, the mist doesn't work on me. I can see your features and see you have green eyes, but I can also see, well, you got 2 other features. Like your 3 people. One's your Greek form and one's your Roman, isn't it? I don't recognize the other." Kushina said, "It's something like that. Why did you come over here?" Sally took a deep breath and said, "Percy's father warned me about the danger of monsters coming after Percy because of his scent. I thought I could hide him. I thought that if I married a man who was so repulsive that his scent would be able to hide my son's scent. I've found someone I think would work. But," as she raised up the sleeve of her coat and Kushina's eyes widened before they narrowed in anger as she saw bruises on Sally's arm. Sally looked at Kushina and said, "His name's Gabe. I can take him hitting me if it means protecting Percy, but last night Percy accidentally spilled his glass of milk on the table and it spilled on Gabe's lap. Gabe. When I tried to stop him, he grabbed me and slammed me against the wall and I got knocked out. When I woke up, Percy was curled up in a ball with bruises on him from where Gabe beat him. Oh gods, I'm a horrible mother. I wanted to keep him with me to protect my son, but," as she burst into tears. Kushina quickly pulled Sally into a hug to comfort her and she said, "Tell me where you live and I promise you will never have to worry about this Gabe again." Sally said, "But what about my son? I don't want to lose him. I know that if he goes to this camp, I'll most likely never see him again. If he stays with me, he'll be in danger because of the monsters unless I have someone like Gabe to cover his scent, but he won't be safe with someone like Gabe. I don't want to lose my son. I can't lose my son, but I don't want to see him get hurt," as she got a little hysterical. Kushina's eyes softened and said, "It's not an easy choice. I have to make the same choice myself for my son. I wish I could keep him by my side, but doing so will put him in danger even more. Then, you need to get your son and come with me," as she tensed up. Sally looked at Kushina, who was looking off to the side. Sally followed Kushina's gaze, saw an old woman with a dog, but as she looked saw a haze around the woman and dog, and Kushina stood up and said, "Where's your son?" Sally pointed toward the black hair boy that was playing with Naruto and Kushina said, "Come on, let's get our children. We need to get out of here," as she moved toward the kids while keeping an eye on the woman and her dog. Sally moved quickly and grabbed her son Percy's hand and said, "We need to leave, son." Kushina grabbed Naruto's hand and said, "Come on, Naruto, we got some place we need to go." "You coming, Sally?" as she looked at Sally and ignored the pout Naruto had on his face. Sally glanced at the woman and the dog who was eyeing them and nods her head, and both women began to walk away holding the boy's hands. Naruto saw his mom frowning and said, "Is everything okay, mom?" Kushina looked at Naruto and said, "Yes, we just still have a lot to do and so little time. Come with me." As she turned down an ally. Sally looked at Kushina and said, "No, we got to go. Come, Percy." As she began to walk away quickly. Kushina frowned as she saw Sally and Percy get into a cab and drive away, and Naruto looked sad and said, "Why did they have to go, mom?" Kushina looked down at Naruto and said, "They had things they had to do and so do we. Come on." As she covered his eyes as they stood in the alley and both disappeared in a silver light. When Naruto could see again, they were back at Artemis Temple, and Naruto looked up at his mom and she said, "There's a few things I still want to do together before our time runs out. Stay right here. I'll be back in a minute." As she left the room, Naruto began to look around the room and touching a few objects when Kushina returned with a silver tray that had several items on it, and she set the tray on a table and said, "Son, come here. I want to try something." Naruto walked over and sat down next to Naruto, and Kushina said, "There is something I am going to teach you later called sealing. It's a special skill that the Uzumaki clan is famous for. Your father and I were both very good with seals, and so will you be one day, but for now I want to try a little experiment with sealing. Would you be willing to let me have a couple of drops of your blood to test something?" Naruto looked at Kushina and said, "How will you get my blood, mom, and why do you need it?" Kushina said, "You know how last night I could see what you see when I was touching the fates. I think I can do that again if I was touching your blood, so I wanted to create a small seal that would allow me to see what you see so I can better help you. As for how I will get your blood, I will use that blade right there to make a small cut on your finger, but I will heal it right after, so it will only hurt a moment. Will you let me do this, son?" Naruto bit his lip and said, "Do it," as he held up his finger but looked away. Kushina smiled gently and cut Naruto's finger and let the blood flow into a bottle of ink, and when she had enough she healed his finger and said, "All done," as she began to shake the bottle of ink and blood, mixing it together. Kushina took a quill from the tray and a silver bracelet and began to draw symbols on it as Naruto turned to watch, and a few minutes later Kushina said, "Seal." And the ink glowed a moment before shrinking on the bracelet. Kushina put the bracelet on and blinked a moment and said, "It worked. I can see everything again." Naruto said, "So what now, mom?" Kushina saw a exclamation point by the word menu and said, "It looks like you got a message, son. You see that symbol that is glowing next to the word menu? I believe that is notice to tell you something has changed. Click on the word menu so we can see what is going on." Naruto clicked on it and the menu appeared. Naruto Uzumaki. Level 2. Express 10/25. HP 11/20. CP 120. Strength 7. Speed 10. Stamina 14/30. Attack 6 base 7, -1 equip. Defense 6 base 3, +1 equip, +2 dex. Dex 2. Int 1. Skill. Reading 6 PTS. Observation 2 PTS. Awareness 1 PTS. Shopping 1 PTS. Travel 1 PTS. Pickpocket 1 PTS. Equipment sad face -1 offense, +1 defense. Items. Kushina's eyes widened as she saw the stats and skills before they narrowed and said, "Son, why do you have a pickpocket skill?" Naruto looked confused and said, "I don't know, mom." Kushina said, "Click on it." Naruto clicked on it and both began to read. Pickpocket level 1. By using observation and awareness you observed someone pickpocket another person. You now have the ability to try and pickpocket another person. After level 1, 10% chance of success added to each level earned. Kushina scowled a moment before she said, "I suppose. Let's check out your other skills." Click on reading. Reading. English level 1 to 2. Greek level 1 to 1. Latin level 1 to 1. Kanji level 1 to 1. Kana level 1 to 1. Kushina nods and said, "I guess you were reading all the signs as we walked and shopped. Good job, son." Naruto smiled at the praise and clicked on another skill. Observation level 2. Observation is the skill of observing others to pick up details of what they are doing. The higher your observation level, the more details you will be able to pick up and the more likely you will be to copy the skills that you observe. Level 2 Observation unlocks Level 1 Awareness. Awareness Level 1. Awareness is the skill of knowing the location of objects and people around you in order to reach the target easier or avoid the target of your observation. Shopping Level 1. By observing someone buying or selling, you have unlocked the skill shopping. By observing and experiencing shopping, new skills and levels will be unlocked. Travel Level 1. Travel is the ability to travel from one location to another. By observing and experiencing the different forms of travel, new levels will be unlocked. Kushina smiled and hugged her son and said, "You did very well on your first day with your new skills, son. I'm very proud of you. Now come on. I got some books I want you to look at." Naruto followed his mother and they soon found the bags of books they had got earlier, and Kushina said, "Go ahead, son, pick up the books and see if you can absorb them." Naruto picked up the first book and blinked as words appeared. How to Learn to Write for Children. Requires Level 1 Reading. Would you like to gain the ability to write? Naruto clicked yes and the book disappeared in a puff of smoke. Kushina saw this and smiled as Naruto picked up the next book. Basic Math. Requires Level 1 Numbers. You cannot learn at this time. Naruto frowned and said, "I can't learn this. It says I need to have Level 1 numbers." Kushina slapped her head and said, "Of course. I should have thought of that. Well, go ahead and grab the other books and see if you can get them." After going through all the books Kushina had bought, Naruto was able to gain several new skills. Naruto Uzumaki. Level 2. Express 10/25. HP 11/20. CP 120. Strength 7. Speed 10. Stamina 14/30. Attack 6 base 7, -1 equip. Defense 6 base 3, +1 equip, +2 dex. Dex 2. Int 2. Skill. Reading, Writing, and Arithmetic 12 PTS. English, Greek, Latin, Kanji, Kana, Numbers, Math. Observation 2 PTS. Awareness 1 PTS. Business 4 PTS. Shopping, Trade, Negotiation, US. Currency. Travel 3 PTS. Maps, Exploration, Walking. Pickpocket 1 PTS. Equipment Sad Face -1 offense, +1 defense. Items. Kushina saw the updates and smiled and said, "That's good, son. I wrote down what restrictions you said that you needed to get these other skills and I will work on seeing if I can't get them. This helped us figure out how to help you learn new things. Luckily, me just showing you the 10 basic numbers and explaining them was enough for you to learn them." Naruto rubbed his head and said, "My head hurts, mom." Kushina's eyes softened and said, "You got a headache. Probably information overload. The same problem people have with conjunctions." Naruto looked confused and Kushina saw this and said, "I'll explain later, son. For now, let's go get something to eat and then we can come back and play together with your new toys for the rest of the night." Naruto frowned and said, "I have to go to camp tomorrow. Don't I?" Kushina bent down and said, "I wish you could stay with me forever, son. Unfortunately, we can't. I have my duties as a goddess and there are also the ancient laws stopping us, but look at it this way, son. While you are at camp, you can make new friends like your friend Percy and learn new things so that way when we are together again in a couple of months, then we can spend more time doing things and less learning." Naruto smiled at that thought and said, "I love you, mommy." Kushina pulled him into a hug and said, "And I love you also, my little maelstrom." Naruto blinked and said, "Maelstrom? What's that?" Kushina smiled and said, "It's what your name means. It's another word for a whirlpool. It's also an ingredient in ramen because it's shaped like a whirlpool." Naruto tilted his head to the side and Kushina said, "You'll find out later." Naruto scrunched up his nose and said, "I'm going to hate those words." Kushina laughed as she pulled Naruto into another hug. The next day, Naruto was holding Kushina's hand as they walked down a dirt road and Kushina said, "So you know what to do, son." Naruto said, "When people ask me my parents' names, I tell them my mother's name is Kushina Uzumaki and I don't know my father's name." Kushina said, "Right. I promise you, son, that the very moment you get strong enough to protect yourself, I will reveal to the world you're my son." Naruto said, "And an Uzumaki never goes back on their word." Kushina smiled and said, "That's right, son." Before she looked ahead of them and her smile slipped and said, "This is as far as I can go, son. You see that hill up there? Naruto turned and looked at the hill and Kushina said, once you go over the top of the hill you will see a farmhouse in the middle of the field. Go to the farmhouse. Once I let go of your hand I want you to run as fast as you can up the hill and get into the safety of the camp. Naruto frowned and said, why? Kushina said, because there might be a monster in the woods who might come after you and I am not allowed to go no further at this time. This last part of the trip is something you have to do on your own. Please son, run as fast as you can over the hill. I'll see you again in a few months. Naruto quickly wrapped his arms around Kushina's legs and said, I don't want to go mom. Please don't make me go. Kushina bent down and gave Naruto a hug and said, I have to son. We already talked about this. If we don't then things will get bad for both of us and we may not ever be allowed to see each other again. It's only for a couple of months son. Please. Be strong for mommy because mommy going to start crying. Naruto sniffed and said, don't cry mommy. You told me that you should only cry happy tears. Save your tears for when we meet again. Kushina sniffed as she smiled and Naruto said, I love you mommy. Kushina said, and I love you also my son. Now go. As she patted his back above the backpack he was carrying. Naruto turned and looked up at the hill and then looked at the woods on either side of the field leading up to the hill before his face got a look of determination and he began to run toward the top of the hill. Kushina watched him and thought, he looks just like you Minato. Oh how I miss you. As a tear fell down her cheek. She tensed a moment as she saw a shadow pass through the woods to the left but let out a breath she was holding when she saw Naruto reach the top of the hill. He turned to look at her one more time before he waved and then crossed over the hill. Kushina quickly began to walk away and once she got far enough away her features changed back to Artemis and she disappeared in a silver light. A few moments earlier, Naruto looked one last time at his mother before he turned and began to walk toward the farmhouse in the center of the field. As he approached it he thought he heard the sound of voices and many other sounds but he couldn't be sure because he couldn't see anything. Walking up to the house Naruto got to the door and knocked. He waited a moment and began to knock again when there was a golden flash behind him causing Naruto to turn and look as he saw a man with blonde hair and golden eyes standing there and Naruto said, hello. The man said, hello young man. Who are you and what are you doing here? Naruto said, my name is Naruto Uzumaki and my mother told me to come here. She said this camp was for those like me. The man said, I see. My name is Apollo. What's your parents' name if you don't mind me asking? Naruto said, my mother's name is Kushina Uzumaki and I don't know my father's name. Apollo said, I see. As he looked at Naruto. Just then Naruto's eyes went wide as he saw a man with the body of a horse run up and the horseman said, Lord Apollo, what are you doing here? Apollo said, ah, Chiron. I was flying Sol when I saw this young demigod arrive and I decided since no one was at the farmhouse to come say hello and welcome him. Chiron, this is Naruto Uzumaki, an undetermined. How old are you Naruto? Naruto said, I'm 5 years old. Apollo tensed a moment and said, I see. Well welcome to Camp Half-Blood Naruto. As he waved his hand and suddenly Naruto could see several buildings appear before his eyes as well as seeing people running around doing different things. Naruto's eyes widened in wonder and Apollo said, it's amazing, isn't it Naruto? How long are you going to be here Naruto? Naruto said, my mommy told me that I was only going to be here until the end of the summer. She said that I would then go back to where I was born. Chiron said, I see. Well I guess I should properly introduce myself. I am Chiron, the trainer of heroes. I am the activities director here at Camp Half-Blood. Naruto tilted his head to the side and said, what are you? Chiron said, I am a centaur. Half human, half horse. Naruto said, I see. And who are you Apollo? Are you a god? Apollo said, yes I am. The god of the sun, prophecy, the arts, and several other titles. I am brother to Artemis. Naruto's eyes widened and said, you're that's cool. As he quickly caught himself. Apollo's eyes narrowed even more and said, I see. Well it was good meeting you Naruto. Be seeing you around. As he flashed away. Chiron turned his head to the side but then quickly looked at Naruto who had watched Apollo leave and Chiron's eyes widened and thought, did he close his eyes or did he actually see Apollo leave? No, that's ridiculous. He must have had his eyes closed. No mortal or demigod can see a god's true form without being destroyed. Chiron cleared his throat and said, "Well, young hero, this is where I would introduce you to Mr. D and have you watch the camp introduction video. Since Mr. D is not here right now and I don't think you would understand the video since it's made for those who are a little older than you, I will just walk you around and try to answer your questions." Naruto said, "Okay. So how do I get stronger?" Chiron blinked and looked at Naruto and said, "Pardon me." Naruto said, "My mom told me that if I came here that I would learn to protect myself and that I would get claimed when I got stronger, so how do I get stronger?" Chiron smiled and said, "Well, your mom was right somewhat. You will learn to protect yourself, but first I think you should learn your way around and learn where you will be staying until you are claimed. If you will come with me I will begin to explain." Naruto said, "Okay." As he began to walk with Chiron, who began to point out different things. As each thing was identified, Naruto saw different symbols appear on a minimap that he now had in his vision as well as on top of each of the things that were identified. They finally came to cabin 11 and Chiron said, "This is Hermes' cabin. Hermes is the patron of travel, so he allows all unclaimed demigods to stay in his cabin until they are claimed or leave." As he knocked on the door. The door opened and a teen stepped out and Chiron said, "Ah, Michael, I have another undetermined for your cabin. This is Naruto Uzumaki. He's 5. Naruto, this is Michael Anderson. He's the head of the Hermes cabin. If you have any questions you can ask him. I'm sure you will help young Naruto to feel welcome, right Michael?" Michael said, "Of course Chiron. I'll even steal him some supplies." Chiron said, "I didn't hear that." Naruto said, "He said he would." Michael covered Naruto's mouth and said, "Chiron was joking Naruto. Hermes is the patron of travel, but he is also the patron of thieves." Naruto blinked and said, "Like pickpocket." Both Chiron and Michael both looked at Naruto and Chiron said, "Your stay in cabin 11 might be longer than I thought." As he turned and galloped away. Michael looked at Naruto and said, "I have a feeling you will find cabin 11 as home, Naruto. Come on inside." Naruto walked in and saw several bags placed all over the place, and Michael was watching Naruto and said, "Cabin 11 is the most crowded of all the cabins because so many are undetermined until their parents claim them. As such, everyone here learns basic trap skills in order to protect themselves from both pranks and theft. There is just one rule when it comes to theft in this cabin though. You never take a person godly weapon or spoils of victory over a monster." Naruto looked confused and said, "What are spoils of victory?" Michael said, "Every monster you defeat will leave something behind. It may be a tooth, it may be a weapon or item. You never know what it might be, but each spoil of victory is gained from killing a monster. You can die against monsters, so we treat those items as sacred. Since you're so young, I will allow you to stay in my room with me and store your stuff in there, but if I find out you stole anything from me, you will be kicked out of my room. Do you understand?" Naruto said, "Yes, I promise not to steal from you, and an Uzumaki does not go back on their word, but you won't steal from me either, will you? My mom just got me all this stuff and I don't want to lose it." Michael said, "No, I won't, and I'll take you under my wing and teach you a few things so that you can better protect yourself. Now come on, let me show you where you will be staying." Naruto followed Michael into a room off to the side and he saw a bed and a couple of dressers, and Michael said, "I'm sorry, but you will have to sleep on the floor, but I'll steal you a sleeping bag. Since all the undetermined are brought here, we don't usually have any extra beds. You can also use the bottom drawer of that cabinet to place your cloths in. Everything that won't fit in there will have to be left in your pack." Naruto nods and Michael asked, "Do you have any weapons?" Naruto said, "Yes, my mom gave me some weapons." As he reached into his pack and pulled out 2 pouches. Naruto said, "I don't know how to tie them on my leg though." Michael said, "May I?" as he motioned toward the 2 pouches. Naruto nods his head and Michael opened the first and pulled out 10 silver kunais, and when he opened out the pouch and pulled out 10 silver shurikens. Naruto said, "Those are kunais and shurikens. Mom said that they are the primary weapon back home, and these are enchanted to never dull or break and will return to my weapon pouch 10 seconds after they leave my hand. She said she got a set just like them that she used on monsters in the past, so she knows they will work to help me learn to defend myself." They are long-range weapons but can be used for close-range attacks also. Mom made me promise to practice an hour every day throwing them to improve my aim and skills. She said that if I can kill a monster before it gets close to me with a long-range attack, then I won't have to worry about a close-range attack. Michael said. That's cool. Your father must have gave these to your mother for you, though I don't know who would give silver weapons instead of celestial bronze. These must be a special type of silver though if they work on monsters. I know the hunters of Artemis use lunar silver. Maybe Artemis allowed your father to use some for these. If so, you should cherish them even more. As he put the kunai and shuriken back in their bag. Michael looked at a clock on the wall and said, "Come on. It's time for field practice." As he handed the bags back to Naruto. Naruto asked, "Should I put my weapon pouches on?" Michael looked at Naruto and said, "Truthfully, yeah, you should get used to wearing them. I'll teach you how to tie them on later, but let me tie them on you for now." As he bent down and began to tie the pouches on Naruto's legs with one on each leg. Once he was done, he smiled at Naruto and said, "Come on, let's go." Naruto followed Michael out of their room back into the cabin and outside and began to follow him to what looked like a track field. When they got there, Naruto saw several people running with several girls with different color hair running extremely fast, shocking Naruto, and Michael saw this and laughed and said, "Those are tree nymphs. They are used to running at great speed to escape from flirt gods." Naruto frowned and said, "Why do the gods chase them?" Michael blushed slightly when a female hand landed on Naruto's shoulder, causing him to turn around and see a girl with green hair standing there, and the girl said, "It's because they want to give us kisses and we play a game of hard to get to keep from getting the kisses." "Hello. I'm Cheline. Who are you, cutie?" As she looked at Naruto. Naruto said, "I'm Naruto Uzumaki." Cheline looked at Michael and said, "Why don't you run along and practice? I'll keep an eye on this one." Michael said, "All right." As he took off and joined some older kids before they all took off running. Cheline looked at Naruto and said, "How about you and I play a game together of hard to get? You chase me and I'll try to outrun you." Naruto looked between Cheline and the nymphs he saw running and he said, "I won't be able to catch you." Cheline said, "Oh, I know, cutie, but you see, it's not actually the catching me part that is fun, it's the trying to catch me part. Since you're so young and cute, I'll make it a little more fun. I'll run for 5 seconds and then stop and count out loud to 5 and then run for 5 more seconds and count out loud to 5. You run after me with everything you got, and if you can catch me, I'll give you a kiss as a reward, but then when we play again, I'll run for 5 seconds and count to 4 instead. We will keep doing this until you can keep up with me. Each time you catch me, I'll kiss you." Naruto said, "Why a kiss?" As he looked confused. Cheline laughed gently and said, "Because it's the reward I want to give you. Plus it will make all the other boys jealous of you who are trying to catch me and the other nymphs, since they want to catch us and give us kisses, but you catch me and I give you a kiss instead." Naruto said, "But shouldn't I kiss you like the other boys?" Cheline said, "If you can get fast enough running to catch me without me stopping and counting, then." She stopped when Naruto quickly grabbed her hand and kissed it and took off running and said, "Catch me if you can." Cheline was stunned a moment before she laughed and began to slowly chase Naruto as she laughed. Naruto laughed as he ran away from Cheline, who started to catch up to him, but just as she was about to grab him, he would suddenly duck under her arms and run the other way, causing Cheline to stumble slightly before she turned and began to chase after Naruto, who had an excited smile on his face. After about 5 minutes of this, Naruto was panting and Cheline tackled him to the ground, and she looked at the laughing and red-faced Naruto and she said, "Well, I count you so now here." As she bent down and quickly kissed Naruto on the cheek, shocking him. Cheline stood up and held her hand up to Naruto and said, "So you want to try it again?" Naruto looked at her a moment before he smiled and said, "Yeah." Cheline took off running and stopped and said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Before she began to run. Naruto took off running after her, and for the next 5 minutes he chased after her, but then he fell to his knees panting, and Cheline came back to him and said, "Good job, Naruto. You did really good for your first day. We should play together again." Naruto said, "I would like that, Cheline. Thank you for playing with me." Cheline said, "Sure. Well, why don't you rest a little while and then try to see if you can run a lap around the track to practice for our next game?" Naruto nods his head and after he recovered his breath stood up and looked at the track before he began to run as fast as he could around the track. As he finished his first lap, Naruto fell to the ground panting and Michael came over to him and said, "You alright, Naruto?" Naruto said, "My chest and legs hurt." Michael laughed and said, "You're not used to running so hard as you have today. Don't worry, the more you do it the easier it gets, but we don't have time for any more laps today. We have Greek class next." Naruto sat up and said, "I can read Greek, Latin, English, kanji, and kana." Michael said, "Really? Most demigods have trouble reading because of our ADHD and dyslexia." Naruto said, "The fates told me that demigods can actually read if they work on building up their reading level first. If a demigod reads a book that the words move, it's because the book is to advance for their reading level. They said someone named Athena knows this but keeps it a secret so she can know which of her children are smarter than the others by seeing which ones figure it out." Michael looked stunned as he heard this and said, "You met the fates?" Naruto nods his head and said, "Yeah, they let my mommy and me spend time together for one day before I come here in the spring and one day in the fall when she has to take me back to Konoha before she has to leave me there." Michael blinked and said, "You don't live with your mom?" Naruto said, "My mom died the day I was born but she came back to life and we can be together for one day in the spring and fall." Michael said, "What about your dad?" Naruto said, "I don't know who he is. Mom said that when I get older and stronger I'll find out who he is." Michael asked, "Who do you live with back in Konoha?" Naruto said, "I lived in the orphanage but they kicked me out and so I was living in the woods when mommy came and got me and we spent a day together before she brought me here." Michael looked at Naruto sadly and said, "I see. Well, come on, Naruto. It's time we go to our Greek class." As he began to lead Naruto toward the next class. A couple of other demigods who were close enough to hear Michael and Naruto talking looked at Naruto in shock, sadness, and pity. Michael and Naruto soon came to a couple of stone benches where several other demigods were sitting and Michael said, "Hello everyone, we got a new kids with us today. This is Naruto Uzumaki. I hope you will all make him feel welcome. Come over and sit with me, Naruto, and I'll help you." Naruto sat down on a stone bench beside Michael and a brown-haired girl with gray eyes handed everyone a book and she got to Naruto and said, "Can you read?" Naruto said, "Yes. My mommy helped me learn to read." The girl said, "Good, I'm Carol by the way," as she handed Naruto a book. Naruto opened the book and the words instantly began to spin and he frowned and said, "This book is to advance for me." Carol said, "It's good practice." Naruto looked at Michael who smirked and said, "Actually, Carol, Naruto told me something really interesting. He said that he was told your mother actually knows this but keeps it a secret to see which of her children are actually smarter than the others. It turns out that our reading problems can be cured by reading books at our reading level and working up. If a book is at our reading level or below, then we can read no problem, but if it's above our reading level, then we have trouble reading it." Carol glared at Michael and said, "That can't be right." As she turned to glare at Naruto and said, "Don't go making lies about my mother. Now leave. I won't have you interrupting my class and telling lies." Naruto frowned and said, "I'm not lying, the fates told me that." Carol said, "Liar, get out of here." Naruto huffed and got up and said, "Fine," as he left and quickly ran off. Michael frowned and closed the book he had open and threw it on the ground and said, "Just so you know, Naruto's mother died the day he was born. The fates seem to like him for some reason and actually brought his mother back to life so she can spend a day with him before she brings him here in the spring and then a day with him before she send him back to being an orphan in the fall. I won't be taking your class anymore and I'm going to spread word about what Naruto told me and what you did. Just so you know, I think Athena flaw is flowing strong in you." As he left. The other who were sitting on the logs looked at each other and then tossed the book they had been given on the ground and got up and left to spread what they just seen and heard as well, leaving a fuming Carol. Naruto after he left took off running and soon entered the woods surrounding the camp with tears in his eyes. Naruto soon found himself inside a tree trunk from a young tree that looked to be dead which had been burned. With his knees pulled up to his chest, Naruto cried and thought, "I don't want to be here anymore. I want my mommy." Several hours later, Naruto was asleep inside the tree when he felt someone running their hand through his hair as he slowly woke up. Naruto opened his eyes and saw a young girl about his age with white hair sitting inside the tree with Naruto head in her lap, and she was gently running her hand through Naruto hair, and she smiled down at him and said, "Hello." Naruto blinked a moment and said, "Hi, who are you?" The girl said, "My name is Elm." "What's your name?" Naruto said, "Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki." Elm said, "It's nice to meet you, Naruto, and thank you for helping me." Naruto blinked and said, "Huh." Elm said, "I'm a wood nymph and this is my tree. Many years ago I was injured by a fire trying to protect my tree. I thought I was going to die with my tree and I almost did. I probably wouldn't have lasted one more season, but then you came inside of my tree and somehow you healed my tree and healed me. For that I thank you." As she gently bent down and kissed Naruto on the lips. Naruto was shocked and confused, and after the kiss said, "But I didn't do anything." Elm smiled and said, "You don't realize you did anything, but somehow you did. I can feel your power and it's the same power that healed me. Even as we sit here I can feel you touching my tree and me, and we are getting stronger and stronger." Naruto looked confused and looked around and noticed that the tree actually did look better than it did before he fell asleep. He noticed the wood seemed to be healthier and alive than the dull dark look it had earlier. Naruto asked in an unsure voice, "Did I do this?" Elm giggled and said, "Yes, silly. That's what I've been telling you. Would you stay here with me until I finish healing?" Naruto looked at Elm, who had a pleading look on her face, and Naruto said, "Sure, but how did I do this?" Elm said, "I don't know. I just know that from the moment you touched my tree it started to get stronger and stronger. You somehow healed both my tree and me, and for that I am eternally grateful." Naruto looked out of the small hole in the tree and blinked as he saw it was dark out, and he said, "What time is it?" Elm said, "It's night and the monsters of the forest are out. As long as we stay in my tree I can protect us. Would you lay down with me? I'm still a little tired." Naruto yawned and said, "I'm tired also, even though I just got up. Maybe it's because I'm healing you like you said. Well, I guess it will be alright to go back to sleep, but is there enough room for us to both sleep?" Elm giggled and said, "It is if we snuggle together. Would you like to snuggle?" Naruto shrugged and said, "Sure." Elm giggled again at the innocent look on Naruto's face, and she laid down inside the tree and pulled Naruto down with her, and she laid her head on his shoulder and put her leg over his leg and wrapped her arm around him. As she snuggled into the grove of Naruto's neck she whispered, "Naruto, can I give you a gift for helping me?" Naruto, who had closed his eyes, said, "You don't have to give me anything." Elm said, "But I want to. Will you let me?" Naruto said, "I guess." Elm smiled and said, "Just lay still and I'll give you my gift." As she leaned her lips up to his neck, and Naruto's eyes widened as he gasped as he felt Elm doing something to his neck before the world around him seemed to go brighter a moment before Naruto passed out. When Naruto awoke the next morning he found Elm sleeping next to him, and he looked at her and smiled gently before he noticed his menu was flashing. Clicking it, Naruto read, "Naruto Uzumaki. Level 3. Express 1750. HP 2530. CP 150. Strength 10. Speed 15x2. Stamina 44/45. Attack 11 base 10, plus 1 equip. Defense 11 base 5, plus 1 equip, plus 5 dex. Dex 5. Int 2. Skill Bloodline question mark. Blessings Elm. Reading, writing, and arithmetic 12 PTS. English, Greek, Latin, Kanji, Kana, numbers, math. Observation 2 PTS. Awareness 1 PTS. Business 4 PTS. Shopping, trade, negotiation, US. Currency. Travel 3 PTS. Maps, exploration, walking. Pickpocket 1 PTS. Equipment sad face -1 offense, +2 weapon, +1 defense. Items. Quest. Blinking Naruto tapped the bloodline part and read. Bloodline. Question mark, comma, question mark, comma, question mark. Frowning Naruto tapped the blessing part and read. Blessing. Elm. Clicking on Elm, Naruto read. You have received the blessings of the wood nymph Elm. With this blessing, you are able to temporarily double your base speed by channeling chakra into the mark of Elm on your neck. You are now able to seek shelter within the safety of the trees. You have also unlocked the quest Lord of the Wild, Sage. Naruto exited the menu and clicked on Quest. Quest. Lord of the Wild. Sage. Save the Tree of Elm. Complete. Clicking on the Save the Tree Elm, Naruto read. Your natural release of chakra as well your bloodline was able to heal the Tree of Elm and with it the nymph who lived within it. Lord of the Wild. Sage. You have unlocked the Lord of the Wild quest. You have earned the blessing of Elm, a spirit of the forest. The more nature spirits that bless you, the stronger your connection to nature will become. Do you have what it takes to become a sage and be one with nature? Naruto cleared his menu and looked at the face of Elm, who had a content smile on her face, and Naruto smiled at her. Elm, feeling someone looking at her, opened her eyes and saw she was still on Naruto's chest, and she blushed slightly before she looked up at him, and when she saw his neck she smiled even bigger and said, "Good morning." Naruto said, "Good morning. How are you feeling?" Elm said, "I've never felt more alive than I do right now. I wish we could stay here forever, but I want to get up and stretch my legs. I haven't been able to do that in a long time." She grabbed Naruto's hand and helped him stand up, and they walked out of the hole Naruto had crawled into, and Naruto blinked as he looked back at the tree and saw the hole, but also saw what looked like tree bark covering the hole. Elm saw his confused look as she held his hand and said, "It's because of my blessing. People see us nymphs merge from trees and believe we come out of the tree, but what they don't know is that a tree that a nymph lives in has a door in it where we can enter our tree to find sanctuary and safety. Because my tree was injured, my door was visible, but now that it is healed, it appears to be a normal tree without a door. However, since you have my blessing, I have granted you the ability to see my home and visit or stay with me whenever you wish." Naruto smiled at her and said, "Thank you for your blessing." "You didn't have to, but I thank you." Elm said, "Come on. Let's head to camp. I know you're probably hungry, and I want to meet up with my sisters again and let them know what you did for me," as she began to pull him with her back toward camp. As they came out of the woods, Naruto saw several nymphs looking at him and Elm in shock as they carried several trays with them before they quickly ran over to both of them, and Elm let go of Naruto's hand as she was quickly grabbed by several of the nymphs as they began to speak in a language Naruto did not understand. As Elm spoke, she pointed toward Naruto several times and moved her hands around as she talked, and Naruto saw several of the nymphs look at him in shock and in gratefulness, causing him to look down and begin to shuffle his feet as he felt uncomfortable. Shelleen walked over and bent down in front of Naruto with a gentle smile on her face and said, "Naruto, last night we were all worried about you after you ran off after what Carol said to you. We searched until dark looking for you, and you scared us thinking a monster might have found you. I'm glad that you are safe though, and I want to thank you for healing our sister. You don't know how much this means to us, but I was wondering, would you mind trying to heal a couple of our other sisters?" Naruto bit his lip and said, "I don't exactly know how I was able to heal Elm. I fell asleep inside her tree after I went in there to cry." Shelleen said, "I think I know how. You seem to have a touch of nature in you. It's why I came over to play with you yesterday. You have a presence of nature that feels like," as she trailed off in thought a moment before she looked at Naruto and said, "It's like fire, and ice, and rage, like the night, and the storm at the heart of the sun. It's ancient and forever, it burns in the center of time and can see the turn of the universe, it's power and peace, and it's wonderful." Shelleen smiled and said, "I don't know how or why, but you're different than any creature or being I have ever met before. I know my sisters can feel it also, can't you?" Naruto saw each of the nymphs there nod their head or whisper yes. Shelleen gently reached out her hands and took Naruto and said, "No one, not even the gods, could have saved Elm like you did. You are special, and I feel blessed just to have met you, let alone be in your presence like this. ... You are special, Naruto, more special than you could ever imagine. You are a treasure that is so precious the world will weep if it lost you. I ask you, no, I beg of you, little one, please be careful, do not risk your life foolishly. I ask you to please don't run off like you did last night. I am the eldest nymph here at camp, and I speak on behalf of all my sisters. If someone or something upsets you or hurts you, come to us. We will help and protect you. Will you promise me that?" Will you come to us if you are upset or hurt? Naruto saw the hopeful look on Cheline's face as well as the other nymphs including Elm and he said, I promise, and an Uzumaki doesn't go back on their promise. The next moment Naruto found himself being hugged and kissed by every one of the nymphs. When the nymphs let go of Naruto he was covered in several different shades of lipstick kiss marks and was red-faced and looked sheepishly shy. Elm grabbed his hand and said, Come on Naruto. You need to come with us so you can eat so you can get big and strong. Naruto walked with Elm who held his hand into the dining pavilion and there were many demigods already there with more coming in and they saw Naruto being led in by the nymphs who had picked up their trays and followed Naruto and Elm. Naruto looked around and spotted Michael who had got up and walked quickly over toward Naruto and said, Naruto, where have you been? Do you know how worried I was? I went to Chiron and he had several of us look for you since you hadn't returned by the time it got dark and the harpies came out. Cheline stepped forward and said, Naruto got lost in the woods after what happened yesterday and found shelter and protection in the care of our sister Elm here who has finally recovered from her injuries she sustained when her tree was injured. Naruto blinked and looked at Elm who leaned over and whispered, Just go with her story. We want to protect you so we are hiding the fact you can heal nature like you did a secret for now. Naruto tilted his head to the side and nods his head. Michael looked at Naruto and Elm and he sighed and said, Well, I am just glad you're alright Naruto and you don't have to worry about Carol. Gossip spreads pretty quickly here at camp and everyone heard about what happened yesterday and Carol got into trouble. Especially after a couple of campers tried out what you told us about our reading problem and got some of the books that are for younger age kids and found they could actually read them without any trouble. Reading was something each of us have been dreading because of our reading problem, but thanks to you some of us are going to start working on increasing our reading level to see if we can't start reading more and more books. Just then Naruto's stomach grumbled causing him to blush as several of the nymphs giggled slightly and Elm said, Come on Naruto, you need to sit down and eat. Which table do you sit at? Naruto looked at Michael and said, Hermes' table. He's unclaimed. I think we can scoot a couple of campers over to give you enough room to sit at the table. Naruto looked confused and said, Why isn't there enough room? I mean there are several empty tables. Couldn't you just push one of them over to make the table longer or sit at another table? Michael said, It's not that simple. The gods when they created this place made it where each Olympian got a table and each table is the same length. You can't just take a table from another god because they would get angry and that would be bad for everyone. Naruto titled his head to the side and said, Then can't you just ask one of them that isn't using a table to let you use it? A laugh from the front table could be heard as a man in a yellow leopard print shirt drew everyone's attention and the man said, That's actually funny kid. It will never happen but don't take my word. Why don't you pray to the gods and ask them? Naruto said. Alright. As he closed his eyes and prayed, Mom, I don't know if you can hear me but I'm getting ready to eat breakfast here at camp and there's not enough room for everyone at Hermes' table. This guy in a weird shirt said I should pray to the gods and ask them for help. If you're not using your table can you allow Hermes' table to use it for now? Naruto heard several gasps and murmurs in the room and Naruto opened his eyes and noticed there was a silver table sitting connected to the Hermes cabin. Naruto blinked and looked where he had noticed the silver table was before and saw it was gone from that location. Just then a silver arrow flew through the room and hit the table in front of Chiron with a note stuck on the arrow. Chiron was startled but took the note and read it before he blinked and blinked again and said, Dear campers, I have heard the prayer of one of you who asked if I would allow my table to be used when I am not using it so that the children of the Hermes and the unclaimed who sit at Hermes' table can have room to eat comfortably. I was deeply moved by the request and I, Artemis, hereby state that any unclaimed may sit at my table during meals when I and my hunters are not at camp. I also state that when we are at camp that any unclaimed females as well as the child who made the request may sit at my table with us. Signed Artemis. Everyone in the room looked stunned at what just happened and Naruto smiled and closed his eyes and thought, Thank you Mom. He felt a gentle warm presence in his mind and heard, You're welcome son. When Naruto opened his eyes he began to move over toward the silver table and Michael grabbed his arm and said, What are you doing? Naruto looked at him confused and said, I prayed to ask for more room at the table for everyone and Artemis was kind enough to answer my prayer. It would be rude of me not to sit there after I asked. Michael looked between Naruto and the table and back to Naruto and took a deep breath and said, "You're right. It's just. I can't believe. Thank you, Naruto." Naruto said, "Why thank me? Thank Artemis. She's the one who answered my prayer. My mom told me the gods do love their children even if sometimes it seems like they don't. It's just that they do what they do because they are trying to protect us. Like how they can't be with us too much. We already have monsters after us just because of our parents. If our parents spend more time with us, then their scent gets stuck on our scent, making it stronger for more monsters to smell. My mom also told me that the gods can't play favorites, so that's why most prayers aren't answered. But when I prayed just now, it wasn't a prayer for me but for everyone. Selfish prayers are usually ignored because of the ancient laws, but selfless prayers can bend the ancient laws because it's not favoritism. The needs of the many are heavier than the needs of the few or the one." Several people in the room looked stunned as they heard this, and a teenage girl said, "So you're saying if we pray for something for everyone that our parents will answer it?" Naruto said, "I don't honestly know. I only found out I was a demigod a few days ago, and before that I never even heard of the Greek or Roman gods. I actually only know the name of the Olympians because of my mom and Chiron when he showed me around camp, and when I met Apollo yesterday when I first arrived. Oh, and I know the names of the fates. Besides that, I really don't know anything about all this. I'm just going by what others have told me." A boy with gray eyes said, "What do you mean Roman gods?" The man in the leopard print shirt said, "That's enough talking, let's eat." Naruto looked at the man and said, "Who are you?" The man sputtered, and Chiron said, "This is Mr. D. I told you about him when I was introducing you to camp." Naruto said, "Ah, it's nice to meet you, Mr. Whiny." Several snickers were heard from around the room, and the man said, "What did you say?" Naruto said, "You're the god of wine. I was told we don't go just using names because names have power, so I was showing you respect by honoring your domain. If you don't like Mr. Whiny, I could think of another name to call you. You're also the god of madness, but calling you Mr. Crazy or Mr. Madness would be insulting. How about Mr. Temp? It's a reference to your domain, but also a reminder that you're only going to be here until your punishment is over, so you're just a temp. So what do you think? Is Mr. Temp okay to use?" Mr. D narrowed his eyes and said, "Are you mocking me, boy?" Naruto titled his head to the side and said, "I don't think I am." "What does mocking mean?" As he looked at Michael, who looked scared. Michael said, "It means making fun of." Naruto looked at Mr. D and said, "No, I'm not making fun of you. I was told that you don't like it here. I thought one of the reasons you're not happy here is because people don't know who you are and show you the proper respect, because a name like Mr. D could mean pretty much anything. That's why I was trying to think of a new name for you so that people could show you respect for your domains, since we can't call you your real name." Mr. D huffed a moment and said, "Whatever. Call me whatever," as he grabbed his Diet Coke and began to drink. Naruto said, "Sure thing, Mr. Whatever," as he walked toward the silver table as Mr. D spit out his soda and glared at Naruto as a few people snickered, and Chiron said, "You did tell him to call you whatever, sir?" Mr. D just shook his head and said, "I walked into that one. Cheeky brat," as a small smile appeared on his lips a moment before he let it slip. Naruto sat down at the silver table and looked at the others who were sitting at the Hermes table and said, "Well, aren't some of you going to sit down now that we have more room?"